Rishus, the Yachad Kollel, the Rabbi Shem Tov, and all of you. I feel quite at home here tonight, even though my name is Yoel. I come from a Hasidic background, used to be called Yaeli. I did marry a Sephardic girl. I went to Litvish yeshivas. Oh, yeah, there we go, that deserves. I went to Litvish yeshivas, and I'm a rabbi of Hungarian shul, so God really prepared me to be able to speak to all kinds of people. But it's really it's heartwarming to be here. I can feel Yachad Kollel's heart when he spoke, how emotional it is for you. I can't imagine how many years this has been in the making. So it's really special to be a part of it, and thank you for inviting me. I grew up, even though I grew up Hasidic, I grew up as a big basketball fan. I love basketball. I can see you're nodding your head already. Yes. I love basketball, and in my day and age, I try to explain my kids who Michael Jordan was. And, I have a hard time explaining it to them unless I show them the highlights. And I remember a game where Jordan scored a career high 69 points against the Cavs. And he won it. It was a spectacular performance. It was unbelievable. And after the game, he was in the locker room, and the journalists, the press, they were all around him and bombarding him with questions. So, Michael, how did you do it? Yeah, it was in a zone and all that. And there was one rookie forward. His name was Stacey King. He scored 1 point. He got fouled. He had 2 free throw shots. He missed one, and he hit one. And one of the journalists couldn't get to MJ, he couldn't get to Jordan. So Stacey King was in the locker room, so he walks over to Stacey King and he says, Mr. King, so what do you say tonight's game? Closes his eyes and he says, you know what? Any night where Jordan and I combine for a 70-point game is a good night for the Bulls. Yeah. Combined for a 70-point game. Stacey King taught us a lesson. I think that was his legacy, by the way. I don't think he scored much more points, but that line is that it doesn't matter who scores 69, who scores 1. The point is, a community is made of people, every person putting in their effort. It's 1 point at 6. Rabbi Shem Tov has 69 points here. It doesn't matter. We're all together. Hashem says, all of you matter. All of you. It takes a bunch of individuals to make up a community. So that's why it's so important for all of you to be here tonight and support this wonderful, wonderful Kollel and Kehillah. Tomorrow, I'm going on a midwinter vacation with my family. And I don't know why it's even called a vacation. I mean, when I come back, I need a vacation after that. You know what I'm talking about, right? But, and it reminds me, I was on my way over here, and I remember the last family vacation we took. We're going to Mammoth tomorrow, but the last family vacation we took was to Legoland. We went a night, we went like at 9 o'clock at night. My kids are in the back. We have a 7-seater Toyota Sienna. Kids are in the back, and we're driving down there to sleep at the hotel, and if you sleep at the hotel the next morning, you can go in early into the park. And I was remembering that it was like around 9:30ish, and we're on the road, on the highway, and my kids are bickering. We call it hangry. They are tired and hungry and fighting with each other, bickering. You guys don't know, and you don't know what I'm talking about, but this happens in my family. So I turn to my wife and I say to her, we're spending so much money, so much time, so much energy to bond as a family and go to Legoland. And look what's happening. They're fighting. And kick my chair, you kick my chair, and stop it, and you stop it. It's going wild. And I told my wife, what do we do? And finally I had this idea. I had never done this before, but I recommend this to all of you. Listen to this. I said to my wife, we're going to pull off the exit and stop the car. I said, where are we going to pull off? I said, I don't really know. I'm following a GPS. We're pulling off the exit. We're going to stop. Get off the exit. And we stop at a side street there. I walk out of the driver's seat and I walk over to the passenger door. I open it up. My kids are busy yelling. They barely notice that I stopped the car. And when they see me opening the passenger door, they stop. And they say, we're here? And I said, no, everybody get out of the car. They get out of the car. We sit down on the grass. It's 9:30 at night. I don't know where I am. And I said, okay, we got to talk, guys. And I say to them, guys, listen, we can do this the long way or the short way. The long way is, Shmuley, you tell me what Yosef Chaim did. Shalom, you tell me what Shmuel, everybody tell me what the other kid did. That's the long way. The short way is, Shmuley, you tell me what you did. Shalom, tell me what you did. And everybody take responsibility for themselves. And if we don't, we're going home. Because I'm not spending money, energy, and time to provide a situation where we bicker and fight. I was serious. And Shmuley says, I kicked the seat. I said, good job. Not for kicking a seat. Good job for taking responsibility. That's good. It's a good start. And then a conversation, a respectful conversation started taking place between my children. And after 30 seconds, I said to them, you know, guys, you got this. Finish the conversation on your own. You don't need me here. I'm going to be waiting for you in the car. I walk back into the car, and I told my wife, don't look. Just let them be. They'll work it out. A couple of minutes later, my wife grabs my hand. She says, Yoel, look. I'm looking out, and my kids are hugging each other together. It's the most beautiful moment. I said, quick, the phone! Got the phone, we took a picture, and we have that picture blown up in our house in the playroom, and we put 3 words on it. Peace, anytime, anywhere. And every time we bicker, there's a moment we remember. You know, remember we were on that highway? We pulled off and we worked it out. You can always work it out, but you have to stop. You have to stop. Stop, reflect, and talk. And we are so busy on the highway of life, we barely take time to stop and connect. So I had recently printed a card that has 4,680 boxes in it. And these are the 4,680 stops a person makes throughout his entire life. And those stops are called Shabbat. We stop. And it's 90 lines. Each line has 52 boxes. Each line is a year. And the point of this card is to slow down, to see our lives from a bird's eye view and say, time is short. We don't have that many weeks in a lifetime. We really don't. So on the other side I wrote a pasuk in Tehillim, Limnot yameinu kein hoida v'navi levav chachma. If we start counting our days, average person 80, 90 years, v'navi levav chachma, we start living with wisdom. We don't get bogged down by what other people say to us. We realize it's so short. And this is what the Kehillah, a shul, when you're connected to a shul, you come every Shabbat, you connect with each other, you connect with the rabbi, with the Rosh HaKollel. This is what it's all about. This is what we're doing right now. But if you look closely, and if you want one of these cards, by the way, come over to me afterward. If you look closely, you will see that I made different colors, 4 different colors on the card. The top is green. Afterwards is red, blue, and purple. And I'm going to explain this. You see, you never knew there could be such deep Torah in a card like this. But I'm going to tell you the deep Torah. It's very relevant to all of us. You see, man has 4 names. Adam, Ish, Gever, Enosh. These are the 4 names ascribed to man. And these 4 names describe 4 stages in our life. The first stage is Adam. The Maharal says the word Adam comes from Adama. Adama means ground, fertile ground. That's where you put the seeds to plant. The first 20 years of our life, that's when we go to yeshiva, we go to cheder, we go to kollel. We learn, we absorb the nutrients, the ingredients that are going to guide us for the rest of our life. That's Adam, that's green, that's the first 20 years. Then comes Ish. Ish comes from the word Eish, 20-year-old, ambitious, with a passion. He's got a fire in his belly, pursuing a career, looking for a wife, having children, building himself. He's got that passion, that fire, that drive. That's Ish. Then we have 35. You're at the peak of your strength. That's when you're a Gever, a Gibor. As you have your family, you got your job, Bezrat Hashem, and you're well established, you're stable, you're strong. That's Gever. And that period is also very short-lived. After Gever, it's around 50 to 60. That's when you become Enosh. Enosh is vulnerable. It comes from the word Enusha. It comes from sickness. You have to start watching what you eat. It's not so simple. And that's called the Yimei Yerida. That's when you have to prepare for the next 30 years to leave. I'm sure there are no 60-year-olds here, no? I'm sorry. No, but this is the truth. The truth is, Enosh, that's the time. We have to be careful, because that's when we're most vulnerable. This card is a reminder. Stop and think. Yachad Kollel spoke before. It was very apropos. He spoke about living in the moment, the difference between this and that. Zekei Livanveyo. This card helps me live in the moment, and I always remind my children to always live in the moment. I remember a couple of years ago, I was in Israel for Sukkot. And I remember I was at the Kotel, and it was just snowing by the Kotel. But rain on Sukkot is not very common in Israel. I used to live in Manchester, England. If it doesn't rain on Sukkot, then you're surprised. It rains every day of the year. But in Israel, it barely rains in Israel on Sukkot, almost never. And I was at the Kotel with my lulav and esrog a couple of years ago, and it started pouring rain. So everybody ran for cover, and I ran into one of the crevices along the wall, alongside the kosel, where you can run for shelter. And everybody was cramped in there. We were all so squished, waiting for the rain, waiting for the storm to pass. I'll never forget this. There was a guy in the back of the tunnel, and the guy started singing, and all of us are waiting. We can't wait to get out. And this guy started singing. And within a couple of minutes, the whole crowd burst into song, and we almost forgot about the rain. It was like that saying, don't wait for the storm to pass, sing in the rain, And that's what it was. And as I was in that tunnel, I remembered a story that happened to me personally with a Rebbe of mine who was very, very sick and needed refuah shlema. His name is Reb David Trank. His name is Reb Menachem Yechiel David ben Batsheva. The inspiration of this story should be a zchus for his refuah. Incredible story. I was learning in Lakewood at the time. And my Rebbe, Reb David Trank, he's a very energetic man. And he would call me from time to time to see how I'm doing in Lakewood. He lived in Lakewood. I was learning in Lakewood at the time. He was my Rebbe from high school in 9th grade. He calls me up one day and he says, Yaeli! I said, Rebbe, how are you? That's how he speaks. Yaeli! He says, Rebbe, how are you? He said, Yaeli, I have a wedding tonight of this and this Talmud. Remember, he was in school with us? I didn't remember. I barely remembered, but I did remember somebody telling me that the wedding was going to be in Atorat Avraham in Williamsburg. So I said, Rebbe, I'm not going to be going to the wedding, but my Rebbe had kept up. Of course, he keeps up with every Talmud. And he said, I'm going to go. Do you know where it is? I said, I heard it was in Atorat Avraham. He said, okay, great. Thank you very much. I hung up the phone. The next day, I was talking to a friend who happened to have gone to the wedding. So I'm talking to him, and I say, Daniel, how was the wedding? He says, it was amazing. It was just incredible. I said, parking? He said, the atrium's got parking. They really, they have. I said, what did you say? The atrium? I wasn't in a Teret Avraham? He said, no. Why are you asking? He said, because I remember, Rabbi Train called me yesterday and he asked me where the wedding was and I sent them all the way to Williamsburg. So, well, did he call you back? I said, no, he didn't call me back. He said, well, if he didn't call you back, he probably figured it out. He asked somebody else and he went to the atrium. I said, I hope you're right. Didn't have a good feeling about it. A couple of weeks later, I was walking down Clifton Avenue in Lakewood. I said, Rabbi, hi! And all of a sudden I remembered the wedding. So I ran over to him. I said, Rabbi, how was the wedding? The wedding in the atrium. He said, at first, that smile, that knowing smile, nodding his head. I'm like, oh no, Rabbi, please tell me you didn't. He said, yeah, I went to a terrace of Rome. But then he grabs my hand and he says, Yoeli, listen, don't worry about it. Even though you sent me to a terrace of Rome, but this was already pre-planned from Sheshes Yimei Bereshis that David Trink should sit 3 hours in traffic in rush hour from Lakewood to New York and 3 hours back to waste 6 hours of my life. I said, Rebbe, I'm so sorry. He said, Rebbe, what did you do? Like, when you got to the wedding, what did you do? I said, I walked in there and I saw that the chassan was wearing a spudik, some Hasidic guy. Didn't recognize him. And I realized what happened. And I said to myself, Ribbono Shel Olam, I said, for some reason, I don't know, you want me to be here. You want me to be here. This is where you want me to be. So I ran over to the Chatan and I grabbed his hand. We danced for a couple of minutes and then I went home. Wow. And I remember the pasuk in the Torah. Listen to this. This is unbelievable. Moshe Rabbeinu, we all know Moshe Rabbeinu, his father-in-law was Yisrael, lived in Midian. Okay? Parashat Yitro right now. He lived in Midian. Now it says that one day he appeared at the Midbar Sinai. He appeared at the Sneh. How did he get from Midian to the Sneh? How did he get all the way from his father-in-law's place to the Sneh? So listen to this. The Medrash tells us that he was shepherding the sheep in the outskirts of his father-in-law's town, Midian, and one of the sheep slowly started running away and ran deeper into the Midbar. Moshe Rabbeinu, 80 years old, not a young man, started chasing after the sheep. And it took him hours, days. According to the Medrash, it took 3 days until he finally caught up with the sheep he was running after, and he saw the sheep was drinking from water. Found a pond of water, was thirsty. So Moshe Rabbeinu said, Oi, poor Shefela. Anybody know what Shefela means? It's Yiddish. Poor sheep. He says, Oi. He felt terrible. And he waited. And afterwards he said, you know what? You must be tired. You ran for so long to this pond of water. You were thirsty. You must be tired. And he picked up the sheep, put the head on his shoulder and turned around to carry the sheep back. The Medrash says, right then and there, as he turned around, he noticed the burning bush. And right then and there, Hashem says to him, Shalma lechu mal raglechu, take your shoes off your feet. So the Rachaim HaKadosh asks, says, why didn't Hashem tell him to take his shoes off before he stepped onto the Admas Kodesh? Why tell him to take off his shoes once he's in the Admas Kodesh, once he's on holy ground? He should have taken the shoes off beforehand. So you know what the Rachaim HaKadosh says? Amazing answer. He says, Hashem was telling him, Hamakom asher ata omed alav, the place where you stood grounded, the place where you didn't get upset, you waited compassionately for the sheep to finish its drink of water, and then carry it back. You didn't get triggered. You didn't get angry. Hamakom asher ata omed alav, you stood patiently, compassionately passionately, Admat Kodeshu, you just made this ground holy with your actions, with your mentality, with your attitude. Hamakom asher ata omed al Admat Kodeshu, you just made it holy. We want to bring holiness into our community. We want to bring holiness into our homes. We have to live in the box, whatever box we're in. The moments that we're in are Kodesh. We can make that Kodesh. I remember in Bet Naftali, where I'm rabbi, a couple of years ago, I had a guy, Dr. Arnie Ross. Anybody know Dr. Arnie Ross? Dr. Ross. Dr. Ross walked into shul one morning, 9 o'clock. And he opens a siddur. He's wearing his beautiful, nice, fancy suit. Opens a siddur. And out of the corner of my eye, I see that a boy, a 12-year-old boy, from the back of the shul is walking over with a piping hot cup of coffee to the table where Arnie was sitting. He puts it down there. In my mind, I'm thinking, this spells disaster. And Arnie, praying, and I'm praying, I'm facing the crowd, rabbi, and I'm looking around. And I see that the boy opens the siddur, and as he opens the siddur, smacks the cup of coffee, and it spills all over Arnie's Shabbat suit. I take my siddur, and I cover my face. I don't want to see what's going to happen. But I look out, and I peek out, and I see, I wish I could demonstrate this, I see Arnie sitting on a chair, covered in coffee. Suit is this. And he looks the boy straight in the eye, takes a deep breath, and he goes like this. Ah, what a warm experience. Hamakom asher ata omed alav admat kodeshu. It's Kodesh, whatever it is. You're at the kotel, it's raining. You're at the wrong wedding. Got coffee spilled all over you. We have such a short time in this world. When I learned this lesson the very hard way, I'm going to tell you a funny story. I'm embarrassed about the story, but I'm going to tell you, I feel very intimate here tonight, but I'm going to tell you this. I'm going to tell you this story, and I'm going to end with another story, then one more story. And I'm just kidding. When we moved to LA, thank God, Baruch Hashem, we bought a house now in Fuller Avenue, and the first 4 years we lived in a duplex, and we lived downstairs on Detroit Street, and the upstairs neighbor would complain because my kids downstairs were too loud. Now usually it's the other way around. Usually you live upstairs and they bang, and Baruch Hashem, we have rowdy, energetic children, and they're always loud, and I would always try to remind them, guys, the neighbor, shh. Okay. It was one Shabbat afternoon. I was singing with my children nursery rhymes. And one of the songs we were singing is, Old Macdonald had a farm, E-I-E-I-O, and on the farm there was a cat, a meow here and a meow there. And we're singing the song, and my kids are loving it, and they were quite young, and we finished all the animals, and then my son decided to put me on the farm. And on the farm there was a tati, an Abba. I said, okay. Now I think to myself, this happens very fast, by the way. I'm thinking to myself, wow, my children are about to sum me up in one sound. The cat goes meow, the cow goes moo. What does tati go? What do I do? And I didn't have to wait too long. And a here and a here and a everywhere. I said, you gotta be kidding me. That's how they see me? You can try this at home, by the way. You're laughing at me. You try this at home on you. We get upset, we get anxious, no. The Rabbi Shalom is saying, I provided you with certain life circumstances. Everybody's got it hard. Life stands on four legs. Somebody once told me it stands on Shalom Bayit, Parnasa, health, and children. Chinuch. Nobody's got all four legs sturdy and strong. Nobody. Give me that guy. Everybody's got hardships and challenges. But we have to remember, it's short. Make the most of it. Stay in the moment. Because I end with this. This is, after all, it's a kollel, it's a kehillah. I'll end with this. There's a pasuk in Iyov. The pasuk in Iyov says, "Va'alefcha chochma." I will teach you wisdom. And the Bnei Yissaschar says that if you look at the word "va'alefcha," you can learn the wisdom of all of history in that one word. He gives us the secret. You know how? He says, Vav is 6. A'alefcha is Aleph. He says there are 6 parshiyot in the Torah that begin with an Aleph. And each parsha that begins with an Aleph corresponds to another Elef Shana of the history of the world. All right, now stay with me. I'm not going to test any of you. But what is the first Aleph, the parasha that begins with an Aleph? Which one is it? Not the name, but the actual parasha that begins with an Aleph is Eile Toldot Noach. Aleph. Eile Pekudei HaMishkan. Second Aleph. Im B'chukoisai Teilechu. Third Aleph. Help me out. Eile Masei B'nei Yisrael. Eile Hadvorim and Atem Nitzovim. 4 parshiyot. Each parsha that begins with an Aleph corresponds to another 1,000 years of history. The very first 1,000 years, the Elef HaRishon. Eile told us the first 1,000 years we're supposed to populate the world. The second Aleph, Eile Pekudei. Pekudei means those who count, the important people. The second, Elef Hasheni. You know who lived in Elef Hasheni? Avraham Avinu, Yitzchak, Yaakov. Those people, the Pekudim, the important people, they came along in the world. And then we have Im B'chukoisai Teilechu, the third Elef Hashlishi, that's when we receive the Torah. Elef Haravi, Eile Masei B'nei Yisrael. We had to travel out of Israel. We went to Galut. Eile Hadvarim, Elef HaChamishi, that's Mishnah Torah. That's when we have the Gemara. That's when all the Talmud Bavli was written, Elef HaChamishi. You know what Elef HaShishi is? Elef HaShishi, the Elef that we are in right now, is Atem Nitzovim Hayoim Kulchem Lefnei Hashem Elokeichem. Hashem says, this Elef, you're standing before me, Mashiach is coming. You're coming back. So the Chafetz Chaim says, what? Mashiach didn't come in B'chukoisai. He didn't come in Eile Masa. He didn't come in the times of Rashi, the Rambam, Eile Advarim. He's going to come now? Now? Pico Boulevard here? He's going to come now? For us? Seriously? Listen to this. My son gave me the answer. You know when? When I walked in Shabbos morning, one morning from shul, I walk into the house, my son says, Tati, please come over here right now. And he grabs my hand, and he takes me to the back of the house, and he shows me a ginormous magnetile tower that he had built. The entire morning, he had built that magnetile tower. So I said, wow, this is amazing. There was a small ladder next to it. And I noticed that he couldn't reach the very top to put his last piece up there that would be Mechaber Shamayim V'Aretz, that would connect Shamayim V'Aretz. I couldn't put that piece up there. He says, Tati. He gives me a piece and he says, Tati, please, be careful, don't break it. But could you put it on top? And ever so carefully, with trembling hands, I stepped onto the ladder, and I lit them up. I put the last magnetile up there. Then I said, you just explain to me how Mashiach will come now. Because for thousands of years, the Jewish people have been building a tower. We've been building a tower, the Eila Maseh, the Eila Advarim. This is a tower built, and the tower is usually built when it's very wide on the bottom. It gets narrower as we go up. Yeah. We're not as wide as the people before us. We're not as great as them. But I'll tell you what, our job is to stand on their shoulders, to step up and put ourselves on the very top, to be mechaber shamayim v'aretz, so Mashiach can come in our generation. And that's incumbent on each and every one of us. We're here tonight to be mechazek the kollel, to be mechazek the kehillah, the community, all of you. It's a combined 70 points. All of us matter. And all of us are responsible to place ourselves on top of that tower and build with Torah v'yirat shamayim, and b'zchut zeh nizkeh lebiat Mashiach tzidkenu b'me'erav yameinu. Amen v'amen. Amen.
A few minutes, listen to this story. It's okay with you?
Yeah, of course. Okay. I don't know if it's okay with everybody else. I'm having a good time up here. Yeah. Okay.
This worthwhile. We're going to enjoy it after.
Okay. All right. I had an opportunity to speak at Bes Yaakov dinner this week. It was last week. And the Rosh Kollel was there, and he heard me tell a story, and he wants me to repeat it here again. Bechavod, I will do exactly that. It actually ties into what we're talking about. I'm a Rebbe in the yeshiva in MBY. I'm a 9th grade Rebbe there. And I try to teach my Talmidim the power of words, the importance of words. And one of the ways I do it is I ask them to take out, by the way, this goes against everything I believe in. I don't believe in speaking over a half hour, but this is lechavod the Rosh Kollel, so if you listen to me, you're machabed the Rosh Kollel. The way I try to convey the message of how important words are, how powerful words are, is I ask my students every year, at the beginning of the year, to take out a piece of paper and tear it into 3 pieces. And I ask them to write down on the first piece of paper, I ask them to write down an insect they never want crawling up their legs. So it might be for someone a cockroach, a spider, a ladybug, whatever it is. And then I ask them to fold the paper and then throw it on the ground, and then everybody should stomp on the paper that says spider or whatever it might be. And they have a good time usually. They think Rebbe has gone nuts this morning and we're going to have a great time today. I said, okay. They sit down, I say, okay, now the second piece of paper, I want you to write down a food you never want to put in your mouth. Like maybe for some of you it might be broccoli, a spoiled milk, rotten eggs, or whatever it might be. And they write it down, and then I say, repeat exercise 1. Fold it, throw it to the ground and step on it, and nobody hesitates. It's just a piece of paper, it's just a word on it. And they do it. And then finally, I tell them to take the third piece of paper, and I ask them to write the term of endearment they use when they call their father. So if you call him Papa, Abba, Tati, whatever it might be, write it down. So everybody writes it down, and then I say, okay, fold a piece of paper, and repeat exercise 1 and 2. Throw it on the ground and jump on it. Pounce on the paper. And nobody moves. Nobody moves. I say, guys, come on, it's just a piece of paper with a word on it. It's not like you're stomping on your dad. I'm such a bad Rebbe, right? You're there, what's this guy doing? All right, no, but here's the punchline. Nobody jumps. Nobody pounces on the piece of paper. Nobody does it. And I say, guys, listen to what just happened. I asked you to write down a word on a piece of paper. It's just a word. But because the word represents, a word is powerful, it has meaning, you don't even want to get up and throw it to the ground and jump on it. And the message is usually driven home. I had one year a boy who got up jokingly and he jumped on the piece of paper. Now, as a Rebbe, as a parent, I'm sure you guys all know, every joke has truth to it, and I didn't make a big deal at the time, and some of the kids were laughing, but I made it a point after class to find an opportune time to have a conversation with the kid. I went over to him, I said, Yankee, his name is not Yankee, I said, Yankee, what did you write on the paper? Like, the term of endearment. So he said, I wrote father. I said, father? Are you English? father? Hello, father. Like, well, what is... So he said, no, it's actually a technique I came up with this technique a couple of months ago. I've been trying to get my father's attention. And every time I talk to him, he's half in his phone, and he only gives me half of his attention. And it just bothered me so much, I decided that instead of calling him dad, to shake him out of his complacency and get his attention, I'll shock him by calling him father. Much more formal. I thought, what? And Rebbe, it works. It works. I start calling him father. And it wasn't a wonder to me that he jumped on the piece of paper. I'm not a psychologist, but you don't have to be one. And the saddest part about this is that I actually know his father. And I know how much Yanki's father loves Yanki. I know it for a fact. And I know when he goes to sleep at night, he thinks about Yanki, wakes up in the morning, he works an entire day to provide Yanki with whatever he can. But in today's day and age, and I'm sure it was like that 1,000 years ago as well, loving our children is not enough. It's not enough to love our children. I love you. Yeah, I love you. Okay, of course we love our children. That's not enough. And what I repeated, the word that I repeated at the Beis Yaakov dinner was that if you look at the Akedah, it says when Hashem asked Avraham to take Yitzchak, Asher Ahavta, the son that you love, Avraham responded with Hineni. Here I am here. What does Hineni mean? Rashi says Hineni means humility and readiness. I am Muchan and Mezuman, and it's a Lashon Anivus, humility and ready. And then if you look at a couple of psukim later, the only conversation that is recorded between Avraham and Yitzchak, Vayomer Yitzchak al Aviv, Yitzchak says to his father, Vayomer, Avi, Daddy! You know what Avraham responds? He says, Vayomer hineni b'ni. And Reb Gamliel Rabinovich, who is a great Mekubal in Yerushalayim, points out, he says, what? Are you speaking with the same derech eretz, with the same words that you spoke to with Hashem? When God talks to you, you say Hineni. When your son talks to you, you say Hineni b'ni. Rabbi Gamliel Rabinovich says yes. When our children talk to us, we have to be all in. Hineni b'ni, we have to be all in. And you know why he says? Because the way Yitzchak grew to the level of being ready to be bound on an Akedah was because Avraham gave him the respect, communicated understanding. Every time he spoke to him was Hineni b'ni. And he says, our children today, we try to bind them, regulate them, discipline them from all that's out there in the world. You want to give them the tools, you want to give them the koch, give them that respect they deserve, that when they talk to us, we should be all in. Listen to them. In the words of Gamliel Rabinovich, he says one line, because Iker HaTzorech, the most fundamental need of a child in our generation is lahavinoto, to communicate that we understand them, or lachabdo, and to respect them. I feel always so bad saying this because here's a young rabbi, new generation, where parents have to respect their children. Used to be that children have to respect parents. I should respect my child. Truth is, yes, our children's respect, their self-respect comes when they see us respect them. And it's part of being in the moment, part of Amakam Ashirata Imid Alavad Maskaidisha. You know, most of us, we're so busy. It's like the old Macdonald song. We have to remind ourselves, come together, plug ourselves in to remind ourselves to be present, to be here for our children, for our spouses, for our community, for the Kollel. Bezrat Hashem, b'zchut zeh nizken lebiat Mashiach tzedkenu b'meira b'imenu. Amen.
Thank you, Rabbi. Dessert is being served. Everyone please stay. They'll bring dessert any moment.